This is the unboxing and review of the Gundam Aerial from the Witch from Mercury anime. We have here the Gundam Aerial, which is the primary mobile suit for the Witch from Mercury anime. With this kit, which I purchased separately, I will also be putting together the Marisul flight unit, which will act as the backpack for the mobile suit. I'm going to put this aside so we can just focus on the mobile suit kit first. The Aerial is the primary mobile suit for the Witch from Mercury series, and being so, it's going to be in the typical primary mobile suit colors of white, blue, red, and yellow. The difference is that the Witch from Mercury mobile suits, or at least the Gundam ones, have areas which will glow to show that it's been activated, and those areas have been reproduced in the model kit. So we've got here the cover art, which is typical for an HG kit, or any kit really, having the full mobile suit with all its primary weapons and shield if it's there. This is the third kit for the Witch from Mercury line. On the side here, we've got the model kit already assembled in various poses, some on the stand, some not on the stand, and showing some of the new effects or articulation or pieces that are there, like the shield comes apart and stuff like that. Note the base is not included in the kit, it's a separate purchase. And on the back here, it's got the front and back of the model kit, and then it also shows the pilot right here. So let's go ahead and take a look at the runners. We've got the manual here, which just reproduces the cover art of the box with the pilot. Looking at the runners here, they're all polystyrene except for one of the effect pieces, which is ABS, but since that effect piece will not be painted, it's already imprinted with everything that's needed, and the rest of them can be painted with any type of model paint that you want to use without having to worry about damaging the plastic. Then we go right into the instructions. The one thing I noticed right away that's different than the two earlier mobile suit or kits in this line is that we've got color pages instead of just all black and white. So this first page of assembly is they put color in it, and then the rest is just like this, and it's split apart like normal HG kits, head, body, the arms, the legs, stuff like that for assembly. So here we have our A runner, which is typical kind of chest and yellow highlights, the reds, the blue, and then you've got this kind of dark gray clear plastic, which seems to be pretty common so far with the two kits that I've looked at for this so far. You've got this same type of thing, and this is where your activation effects would be underneath, the activation effects being decals. Then we've got the armor pieces, which are typically white in primary Gundam for the series. We have this gray, which would be your inner frame and your weapons, which is also common for the primary mobile suit of the series. We have our beam effects, which are blue. I don't think they're blue in the anime. I think it's a different color, but they've gone with blue here. This here are the clavicle upper part here of the for the effects for the activation effects, and then it looks like this is part of this is the part of the head that's the eyes and such. Now we do have some color correcting stickers which is common for an HG kit. Some of them looks like there's both inactive and activated, the black being the deactivated. Now, these stickers right here, they look like they're all silver, but that's because what they've done is that because these pieces are intended to be stuck on the inside, on the underside of plastic, what they've actually done, and I don't know, you might be able there, if you can see the darker colors here on the back, they've actually printed on the adhesive side of the sticker instead of the non-adhesive side. So basically what you've got for these stickers, you've got activated and deactivated. Not sure which side is which. You'll be able to tell with the number. It'll show you. But activated and deactivated pieces or stickers that you can use however you want. I'm not sure why anyone would choose to use the deactivated ones, because the activated ones are going to have the the coloration and stuff like that. And I think it's going to be this red and yellow kind of gradient color instead of just the black. So, but they've provided it anyway, so that's fine. And what I did also is that I did get the water slide decals for this. It's done by a third party, Delphi. And so these will be applied after I do the build. So this will be part of a post-build customization, and there'll be a separate video at the end there. But these didn't come with the kit. I purchased those separately. Let me just get this out of the way. And then we'll take a look at the Marisul flight unit. So this will be the backpack. It looks like, as far as the anime is concerned, it's essentially a backpack, jetpack type of thing that's used by the Aerial and then also the Demi trainers. But I'll be using it on the Aerial. So essentially it's just one page of instructions on how to build it. All the runners are polystyrene, so you can paint and panel line as needed, and then it just kind of shows, I guess, how to put it on the various mobile suits. But it really is just a backpack replacement. So, and it looks like the colors are going to be this kind of yellowy orange and one white piece, it looks like. Oh, these are hands, I see. In this kind of dark, almost not quite purple, but kind of purple tinted blue. And the other thing that comes with it is there are some additional hands because the mobile kits in the Witch from Mercury line only come with limited accessories. It looks like they're going to be doing the same thing that they did with Iron Blooded Orphans, where they're going to have a bunch of accessory kits that are sold separately to enhance the mobile suit, the kits themselves. So you've got your hands here, and then these are the backings for the hand. And just like any other HG, these are color correcting stickers, which I'll probably wind up painting instead of using the stickers because it looks like they're all standard colors, and they're probably just little strips on some of the blue and the gray pieces that need to be a different color than shows on the. So that's typical of an HG kit. So that's it. Here's the Aerial without decals. There has been panel lining though. And here's the Gundam Aerial with the water slide decals and a matte clear coat applied. Here we have the Gundam Aerial from the Witch from Mercury anime, all built and put, painted, decals put on, and also I did a matte clear coat to protect the painted pieces and the decals themselves. It's also been panel lined. So this isn't quite out of the box. There's been a few other things done to it, but they're just things that you would normally do with a kit. So this is a pretty good kit. It's, similar to when I did the Lafrith, I had to unlearn several of the shortcuts that I did with other kits because the pieces are very accurately designed and molded, so that what you need to do is you need to make sure that all the pegs are lined up before you snap a piece in. Otherwise, they're not going to snap in. You can't just take a shortcut of putting one peg in and then the other one will follow, just because the other models are a little bit looser as far as the pieces going together. So once you understand that, and that's, since this has happened with two of the Witch from Mercury kits, I have a feeling that that's the way it's going to be with the kits going forward. And the reason for that is because in order to do the articulation and do the joints, they no longer use polycaps. It is plastic on plastic, so in order to get that articulation to work properly, you really need to have precision in the pieces and such like that. So it was a very nice kit to put together. It looks really nice. I do like the aesthetic. This, unlike the Lafrith, does have the movable skirts, some on the hip, in the front. The back, it doesn't have any, but that's okay. And the nice thing is that these are small, so they really don't get in the way of anything, where some earlier kits, the skirts are so massive and bulky that you can't move the legs as far as you want, either out or forward or back, because the skirts just get in the way. Now, the water decals that I put on this are not from Bandai, because this is an HG kit and they don't normally do anything but the color correcting stickers for the HG kits. So what I did is I did get a third party, and they do look really nice. I really like, I've used that company before, it's Delpy, and they do very nice third party water slide stickers, and that's what these are on here. And there is a separate video showing me applying those and such. Like I said, I did put on a matte clear coat. The only things that I did is I made sure I took off these smoky clear plastic parts so that those would not be matte, because you want those to shine and stand out. So I did take those off before I put on the coating, but that's about all that I had to do. I just took the pieces apart and, put the coating on each piece individually. And even though this, having plastic on plastic joints, it's tight anyway. It gets tighter once you put the clear coat on, because where the joints are and stuff like that, until you kind of move it around a little bit and break the tension of where the clear coat is covering the joint, it's going to be a bit stiffer. There are not a ton of accessories, but there are more than I found on both the Iron-Blooded Orphans and the other Witch from Mercury ones, where this does have two complete sets of hands. There is a grasping, there's the wide open hands and then the grasping hands, one which is on the gun. It does come with the gun, with the beam effect here. The colors for the aerial, the beam effects are blue. It does come also with two beam sabers. The difference being is that these are actually flatter than most beam sabers out there. And for that reason, if you can see, there's kind of a different way to put them into the handle. It's more rectangular, and the handles here on the backpack reflect that with a more rectangular, see if I can get that to focus, with a more rectangular thing. So you can't just interchange the beam sabers for the aerial with any other, unless it's one that has a similar style with the more rectangular peg. Now, like they did with the Lafrith, where the piece that I used here for the clavicles, that was a pre-molded piece with the effect in the plastic itself, so of course I used that. They did provide the extra clavicle pieces and stickers, and what I did is I made them the deactivated type, black instead of the effect. But the problem is that the only extra pieces of plastic that you get is the clavicle ones, so you don't get extra plastic, so you can have both an active and deactivated leg or backpack. So it's difficult to be able to do a full deactivated, whereas with the Lefrith it was just a clavicle piece, so you could have the extra clavicle piece to do a deactivated Lefrith if you wanted to. But this, you can't. You're not going to really be able to do that, because you certainly don't want to try to get those decals, those stickers off from the inside of the plastic, because they were a pain to get on. Just the way it is. So it does have the shield, and just like in the anime, the shield does come apart, and I will show an image of all the gun bits posed around the piece towards the end of this video, just to show that everything comes apart and such. And also these gun bits can be put in various parts of the model itself, and on the last page of the instructions in section 13, it shows where to put them, where they would normally go on the kit itself. So there's that right there. Those are the gun bits being put on. You can also, instead of using the beam effect, you can take these gray pieces out from these long pieces, and they can fit into here, into the slot. The slot's right there on the gun, and you can have those on there instead. I just don't want it. It's a bit stiff, so I don't want to take it apart again, but that's what you can do with the shield. As far as the articulation, it does do quite well. You can move the leg basically all the way up a little bit more than just 90 degrees on both legs. You can move them out. Now, the foot doesn't let you do a full split. Whoops. The leg doesn't let you the foot doesn't turn, so you can't do a full split. There's slight movement in the foot itself, and the ankle skirt only moves up a little bit, but you can point the toes up. This part turns, and that's about it for the foot. You can't go back and forth really. But the knee bends all the way back because it's a double jointed, a little bit different. Instead of the joint being up here, it's actually in the calf. So it is a little bit different than other ones. And I have noticed just playing with it right now that if you do the knee first, it's going to stick. It's going to catch on there, so you got to make sure that you move if you do the calf joint first, it's going to stick there and you're not going to be able to close it. So you got to make sure you do the knee and then the calf. Just like I said, the skirts move a little bit. The arms, it's got the shoulder pieces here that can lift up out of the way to allow you. Well, I guess it's coming apart a little bit, but so you can move the arm all the way up if you want. The wrist turns. There's the bend at the elbow, but it's just a single joint. It does twist at the shoulder, or at least at where the upper arm meets the shoulder. It doesn't quite, it twists here as well, but it's a little bit stiff. So you just gotta get used to it. And it's the same with the other arm. The head, I'm not as impressed with the movement of the head. It can go forward and backwards a bit, and it can go left and right, and of course you can turn it, but one thing is, just like with Lefrith, this neck joint right here, it's one of these things where there's a ball joint going up to fit into the head, but then in order to fit into the neck, there's a ball joint at a 90-degree angle to the one on the top that fits into the back for some reason. So what'll happen is, if you're moving things around, sometimes this piece can come apart or separate from that. The ball joint can come out of the socket. Now, you're not going to lose the piece because the way that the neck is designed, that piece can't come out, but you're just going to have to push it back. It doesn't happen as often as it did with the Lafrith, but it does happen. The waist has some movement. Now, one thing, this also, and I hope they correct this with other ones. I hope they realize their mistake. What happens is there's a ball joint that is at a 90-degree angle from the spine, essentially, and it attaches in a joint right about here in the front. And that means that if you even though these are two different pieces and this should be able to spin, the ball joint doesn't provide enough grip to allow you to spin the piece, the waist at all. You can just move back and forth a little bit. If you try to force it, or not force it, but if you try to do it more, what'll happen is that the ball joint will come out. It'll separate. There's the shoulder pieces are right here, or I'm sorry, the side chest pieces are right here. Those will separate, and these clavicle pieces will wind up popping out. So I'm not happy about that. Like I said, I hope they realize that that might have been a bit of a mistake on how to do the waist, because it prevents a whole lot of movement that you would normally expect out of waist, especially with something with a slim waist, not a whole bunch of bulky armor there, and it's just not pleasant. I mean, even if I take the waist off, here, let me watch it not do it. Okay, yeah. So see, this is what attaches in the front, and even with this, it is stiff, but I can twist it when it's not attached to the torso. It is very stiff, but I can't even try to I can't even get it to twist at all. See, it just keeps coming off, and it's kind of a pain in the butt. So they kind of lost some articulation with that. It comes with the standard backpack here. Basically, it's just essentially to hold the handles of the beam beam swords, but the Marisul backpack, which is a separate kit, can fit on this no problem. So you can reproduce them using this. Now, one thing, when I got the water slide decals for the Aerial, Bandai hadn't come out or hadn't really released theirs yet. And I'm not as happy with the Bandai releases of the water slides, because it's one of those things where there are multiple kits on a single single sheet. Sorry about that. So I guess it was kind of a Freudian slip there, but so there's not a lot of decals per kit. It's similar to what they did with Iron-Blooded Orphans. And then what happened is they came out with the Marisul kit after all the third parties had made the Aerial one. And then the third parties made a second set of Aerial decals that included the water slide decals for the Marisul. But I had already gotten the Aerial ones, and I wasn't going to buy another set of water decals for just the Marisul with the Aerial on it, because they're a little bit more expensive that way. But this Marisul is also for the Demi. And when I bought the water slide stickers of the Demi, which haven't come in yet, it does have the Marisul decals as well. So I'll put those on with that one. So they're not on there, and it hasn't been matte coated. That's why it's a little bit more shiny than the actual mobile suit is. But it's just something to watch out for, you know. Like I said, I mean, I think the Bandai water slide decals are fine. They're just not as detailed. You're not going to get as much. And you know, there's not a ton of water slide decals on this anyway. But I could imagine, I mean, if there were less, it would be even, you know, it wouldn't look as nice. So I would say that just because of the fact that there's a ball joint that prevents you from being able to twist the waist, And there's a few little things that are just kind of nitpicky, I guess, if you want, but it does interfere with the articulation, especially the fact that the ankles can't turn sideways. I'm going to have to give this a B, and that's only because of the articulation and the fact that some of the joints will pop out or cause other things to separate and pop out if you try to manipulate things. I love the way it looks. So this is essentially, I'm not going to play with this. This is going to go on a shelf. I'm going to pose it and put it on a shelf. And if you're going to do that, then that's perfect. You don't have to worry about the articulation. But I know a lot of people out there like to pose them and change them and stuff like that. So I would have to give this a B, as in that it's, just slightly less representative of at least the one other Wish from Mercury one that I did build, which is the Lefrith. That one was a bit more solid, especially in the waist. And the fact that the articulation and things just keep popping off and stuff like that, I'm not even going to try to do my standards, Stella and Saturday Night poses on this one, because I have a feeling that it's just going to come apart in my hands if I try to do that. So now you can separate the pieces of the shield to form what are called the Gund bits. And these are the little bits of pieces that are floating around the aerial in the anime. So you can pretty much reproduce whatever scene you want with those. And you can get these special stands that they make for Witch from Mercury, which are basically just accessory stands or bit stands. They're a little bit light, so you got to be careful on the angles that you put them at and stuff like that, or they're going to fall over, or you got to attach a couple and stuff like that. But they do pretty well. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you did enjoy it, please do give it a thumbs up. That really does help out the channel. And if you would like to see more like this, please go ahead and subscribe and click the notification bell. If you do have some time, I would really appreciate it if you could watch one of the videos that are popping up around my head.